Kat Shiffler is from Lincoln, and she recently moved back from Washington, D.C. On her world travels, she found herself deported and exported by Paraguay on her way to the World Social Forum. So please welcome her back home.
Hi there. So I'm going to be switching up and talking about something kind of sort of serious here. The U.S. Social Forum. The U.S. Social Forum is an event happening this summer in Detroit, June 22nd through 26th. And the motto of the U.S. Social Forum is, "Another world is possible, another U.S. is necessary." This is a moment in time when social movements will be coming up with people's solutions to economic, social, and environmental problems in Detroit. And this was born out of an international movement. The World Social Forum started happening about 10 years ago in Porto Alegre, Brazil, where tens of thousands of social movement actors got together and started talking about issues of landless rural workers. Unions of unemployed people started talking to each other, indigenous organizations, women's organizations. It was a massive social forum, and it inspired regional forums around the world. And now it's happening in Detroit. The format is basically conversations, big democratic conversations that come up with resolutions for action. So another U.S. is necessary. In 2007 in Atlanta, the first U.S. Social Forum took place. There were 15,000 people there, and 5 of them were from Nebraska. And this year in Detroit, it seems like the movement's building. There's a lot of momentum. The focus is on the economic recession. And Detroit's a really appropriate place to have that conversation. There'll be workshops on housing rights, fighting for a moratorium on foreclosures, reimagining the food system, urban farms, rural revitalization, clean energy, immigration, basically you name it. This is a really exciting event, probably the most exciting event coming out of the progressive left, and it's in the Midwest this year. Detroit's really significant because a quarter of the people in the city are unemployed, and this will be an opportunity for Americans to get together and start reimagining the post-industrial landscape. And Detroit is talking along the lines of consolidating the urban core and growing food around the urban center. So that'll be really exciting to witness. So what's this have to do with Nebraska? In Detroit, their industry was obviously the car industry. Here in Nebraska, it's agriculture. We have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the country, and that's a large part due to the fact that the country still has to eat. And here in Nebraska, 1 in 3 people is dependent on agriculture, either indirectly or directly, for their livelihood. So the question remains, how long will our current industrial agricultural systems be productive and sustainable? And that's one of the kind of questions that we'll be addressing at the U.S. Social Forum. So agriculture and conservatism haven't always gone hand in hand. Actually, here in Nebraska, there's a long history of agriculture at the root of progressive populist social reform. In the late 1800s, farmers started organizing and getting together and talking about people's solutions to what was then a huge farm crisis when it became obvious that the government wasn't going to be doing anything about it. There was a saying in the 1890s that the further west you traveled in Nebraska, the more radical it became, which is crazy to think about now. So the Farmers Alliance in Nebraska came about in response to a recession and a drought in the 1890s. They basically demanded respect from the industrial and political elite on the East Coast. They worked for land reform and government control of railroad monopolies. They started establishing cooperative businesses and encouraging local manufacturing in the Midwest. In 1892, the Farmers Alliance had a huge, really important meeting, and they came up with something called the Omaha Platform, which basically established the platform for the National Populist Party in the United States. This was a really important event. In Lincoln in the 1890s, there was a Populist Party picnic that drew 20,000 people. And at that time, the Populist Party had control of the state Senate. They passed a law requiring an 8-hour workday, and also compulsory education for children. So the connection here is pretty obvious. We have this connection in the Midwest to a history of populist social progressive movement, and that's why I think it's important that we start building towards something like that again and start talking about getting people to Detroit and connecting with the national movement. So the ironic thing is now we're pretty disconnected. We're actually an underrepresented minority when it comes to forums like the U.S. Social Forum, the World Social Forum, and I think the best thing that can come out of this is inspiration for our local communities. If you want to learn more, if you want to go to the U.S. Social Forum, if you want to sponsor someone who would not otherwise be able to go there, I encourage you to contact me and look up the U.S. Social Forum on the web. Thank you.